3 of To Pimp a Butterfly podcast.
T-Pap.
T-Pap. So this album was pretty like crazy in general. The impact I think it had on popular music and hip hop, most definitely. This is coming, right off, a few years off, Good Kid, Mad City, which was probably considered. Do you remember like it being like known as like probably the best hip hop album of our time at the time? Good Kid, Mad City. There's a lot of
Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it was a complete antithesis to a lot of the popular rap at the time, because it was kind of when mumble rap was like really coming up. So Good Kid, Mad City was really refreshing in that way, and I think everybody resonated it with it pretty well. Then I also remember how it got snubbed at the Grammys, so that kind of made it even more famous.
Well, it famously had lost the hip hop category to Macklemore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's like kind of one of those things that's like so good, like kind of despite, everybody knew that was the album and not Macklemore's album. So I think a lot of like what happened there plays into the release of To Pimp a Butterfly and the rollout of that. And I guess I'll get to that more so in a little bit. But yeah, Good Kid, Mad City, considered like legendary hip hop album. Everybody was pretty excited to see what Kendrick Lamar would do next. A lot of the conversations I remember having were like, "Oh, he can't top Good Kid, Mad City." You were expecting something good and something interesting to listen to, but I think I was around this time of To Pimp a Butterfly, senior in high school. I remember having those conversations of like, "Oh yeah, but it's probably not going to top Good Kid, Mad City." And I actually got to see Kendrick, one of his last performances of that Good Kid, Mad City run. Actually, probably like about a month before the first single off To Pimp a Butterfly was released, which I actually do not remember when that single was first released, the studio version, not until he performed it on SNL 2 months later in November. I remember, kind of, smoking weed with a couple of friends and then watching it on YouTube probably the week after it appeared, and he's playing with a band. He has black eye contacts in, and it's a totally different kind of song that you would have heard on Good Kid, Mad City. Probably, I guess, closer, but even pretty different from Section 80. And just kind of being like kind of shocked at the like change of pace and confused. I mean, it doesn't really go with the rest of his discography up to that point.
Yeah, and I mean, he's rapping on it, but it's more of like a funk song than like a rap song. And also it's really instrumental, and has a lot of like organic instruments in it, which was also a departure from Good Kid, Mad City, which was more of like the traditional like hip hop production.
Yeah. Yeah, which is like basically one of the biggest differences between those two albums. Like there's a lot, especially with how he performed it live. But that performance on SNL is, if you guys haven't seen, if anyone listening hasn't seen it, I recommend go watching it on YouTube. I believe Woody Harrelson introduces him as well, so that's pretty cool. I don't know what movie he would have been promoting at the time, but I think it's one of the best like televised or I guess recorded live hip hop performances. Hip hop is not like the genre of music known for being, kind of great live. So to see the effort Kendrick Lamar and like a band put into, being able to make a really, really great performance was just, I don't know, very exciting, and it definitely like was not expected. So, like I said, I comes out September 2014, very different song. And also that month, the single Never Catch Me with him and Flying Lotus, which was like, very psychedelic, kind of new thing, I guess. if you're like not listening to crazy experimental music all the time, to hear like a popular rapper on a song like that, it's very different. And I guess was just kind of playing into more of the experience that To Pimp a Butterfly would show you, 7-8 months later.
Right, he's like trying new things, like expanding like musically, in a different way. He's becoming more of a true like musician.
Oh yeah, definitely. His like rapping ability is able to keep up with all those crazy parts and production with like jazz instruments and Flying Lotus. So yeah, You're Dead comes out fall of 2014, and in a way I felt like it was kind of getting me ready for like what was to come with To Pimp a Butterfly, as far as like that kind of, because I think Snoop Dogg is on that album as well. Just that combination of like psychedelic, kind of jazzed influence, Thundercat, who makes like tons of appearances on To Pimp a Butterfly. It was kind of just gearing me up, I feel like, for that. So, I comes out, and then in December, he performs on, I think, one of the last Stephen Colbert shows when he was still on Comedy Central, and he performed. It was just known as like an untitled track. It ended up coming out later on Untitled Unmastered. But
oh yeah, I remember that. He played. I think it was Untitled 7, wasn't it?
I think, yeah. I mean, they're all just untitled. So like, what is a 7 to a 3? I think it was 3. It's the one where he talks about like all the different like ethnic men. Do you remember that one? It's like the Indian said that.
Oh yeah. What does a white man say?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that was cool. I think Thundercat performs live on that version. So there's a lot of anticipation and everything that he's kind of coming out with. A lot of it is like live performances, which is like pretty sick, but it's just very interesting and very different.
Yeah, that rollout is interesting because if he were to just have released the singles, you wouldn't have been able to see the band that went behind it. So performing live on television kind of gives people an insight into like who the band is, because it's a very instrumentally driven album. So yeah,
what a cool way to showcase. And that song didn't even make it on To Pimp a Butterfly. It probably was, or they thought it would be,
yeah,
up until that point, because that's December. The album comes out in March. So then one more song releases before the album comes out, which has a weird release on its own. We'll get into that soon. But The Blacker the Berry in February of 2015. And this song I very specifically like amongst people our age, it really like struck a chord with. People were talking about it. It's a very like big, mean sounding record. Those drums are pretty fucking nasty.
I think just lyrically it was like, damn, like he's going in. Like
yeah.
He's never afraid to say like what's controversial, or it's not even controversial, but just something that's true that nobody says, those kind of things.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And that starts to be a theme on this album. It becomes a bigger theme like later on in his career. I'd say especially with like his last album. But yeah, that definitely like makes like appearances, on here. So that song comes out February. People were pretty hyped, for the release of. I don't think people knew the name yet until maybe the beginning of March. So the album kind of got accidentally released before the official release date. So on March 15th, it was posted on iTunes and Spotify accidentally, and then I think it might have been taken down like a week later.
How the fuck does that happen?
I'm not sure exactly, but I kind of remember leaks happening, but from the leaks, the only song that got around to me was King Kunta. So I remember like hearing that. That was the last thing I heard before like I got to hear the full album on the regular release date. I think it was the 23rd or something of March.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was very exciting. It was a very eventful day. G-Funk, since Kendrick being signed to Aftermath, that was kind of a thing. I guess West Coast hip hop fans, wanted to hear Kendrick rapping, having a G-Funk song or rapping on a G-Funk beat. So I felt like that was, it was a fan favorite immediately. That's one people get very hyped to hear live at his concerts. I was very happy with the song and kept listening to it over and over that day. And yeah, I mean, any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, the rollout, I feel like you kind of hit it on the head, and there was just a lot of buzz about it, and it was like really exciting, so.
Yes, so finally, March, whenever most people heard it, I didn't hear the album until like the actual release. So March 23rd, and boy, that shit was crazy, because well, first of all, that first song is just fucking insane. Wesley's Theory. I remember like
it is.
You must have not been there. I don't know why you weren't there, but everybody else we know was over at my house, and we all put it on, and we're just like, all right, here we go. Like, on a surround sound speaker, too. And Wesley's Theory is just this fucking crazy song produced by Flying Lotus. Has Thundercat all over it, like soloing.
Yeah. Thundercat really like drives this song. He does like a lot of sort of crazy. He's playing the bass. He's playing like a hard ass bass line, and then like over it, he's doing like crazy shit with like a wah pedal or something, just digging in, like making all these ambient sounds, that really add to like the chaos of the song.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely like bizarre, that fucking wah. It's so like, it's such a like crazy sound. He's like soloing like and
but it's still so in the pocket, which is sick.
Super psychedelic. And what a trio of like collaborators, George Clinton, Thundercat, and Flying Lotus.
Yeah.
So like this album's like very Los Angeles. Those are all I don't know where George Clinton's from, but as far as like the current, Thundercat and Flying Lotus and Kendrick Lamar, that's like the biggest part of like Los Angeles 2000s music. Like
definitely. Kind of like this underground hip hop movement, the experimental hip hop movement,
which Kendrick was able to get that onto a mainstream like wide release.
Yeah. And I might keep coming back to the themes of this album, because I mean, the instrumentation, I knew you would like crush it, but one thing that I never really looked into was a lot of the like lyrical content of the album, and like what he's really trying to say. And yeah, I mean, this one, it's just sick, it's about like the record industry, like pimping artists, and like all those impulsive thoughts that come in, with like quote unquote making it, in the industry. And just, growing up in this like poor environment, and then like all of a sudden coming into like all this money, and so I almost think like for me, when I started looking into the lyrics, it kind of connected to the music a bit more, because like this chaotic energy of the song kind of, he's like, it really goes well with like the chaotic energy of the lyrics,
Yeah, most definitely. And he paints such a good picture of it as far as like coming up and where he is now, and even with the Dre feature, the hard part is keeping it, and like what he has to do with this album, which is so crazy to release an album like this, with those expectations, and keeping the hip hop throne, which he did kind of in hindsight.
Right. It's like a double meaning too, because it's like keeping, the hip hop throne, and then it's also like keeping like your fucking wits and your money about you, too, like in all the chaos. So
Yeah, and even his wits, his ego. That's something funny on this album because he's still kind of rapping about it, struggling with that, and even like more open and honest about it with like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. But preparing for this album and kind of paying attention to some of the lyrics, there's a lot of like those themes on this, and it's like kind of the beginning, like somewhat the beginning of like the relationship with like his ego and what he thinks with himself, what he thinks of himself because of success. And
what role does he play now,
yeah,
in society and stuff like that? It's crazy things to think about. Only a genius can like not only think about those things and go through them, but like articulate it in such a way.
Yeah, which he does very well. But yeah, first track. Any more thoughts?
Taxman coming.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, I remember hearing that album, and it was just almost just like, hearing that song off the album, and it was somewhat shocking, but very cool, very psychedelic. And then you hear For Free right after, which is almost if Wesley's Theory was a slap in the face, For Free's a fucking kick in the nuts. Because you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, if you thought Wesley's Theory was crazy, boy, are you in for a treat.
If you thought 9/11 was crazy, listen to
how about two of them?
Yeah. But was that no?
What?
Oh no, I thought you were gonna say another's. I thought you had another line.
No.
But yeah, For Free. That was the one where we were like, "What the H?" And that's the one that made me very excited. Just because of like the fucking balls, to come in like that on your sophomore release. Like the shit is not good. Kid, Mad City. And one of the things I really remember about this album coming out, and as far as like people our age, like people were pretty split about it because a lot of people wanted Good Kid, Mad City, but then also a lot of people were like very happy about like this new crazy music they were hearing.
Yeah, I think I don't really know anybody that didn't like this song, but I obviously some of the people that more resonated with like Good Kid, Mad City and like the traditional hip hop were kind of just like confused. It's
yeah.
like,
well, this
they were just like, holy shit, like what is going on?
Yeah, this song, but the album in whole, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like they like the normie brain didn't know like where to put this album.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember having like debate. Well, not like a debate, but like like not like an aggressive argument, but just like talking shit about like, good. The other dude was arguing Good Kid, Mad City, and I was kind of trying to make my case for To Pimp a Butterfly, which sounds gay now, but it was fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I could, to be honest, like if we're going to that conversation, I could see either one like being kind of, I could see the rationale between either one, but I had a conversation where somebody told me that Damn was better than To Pimp a Butterfly, and I was like,
that's the wrong answer.
Sorry. Like, I know that music is subjective and that everything is opinions, but that's just plain not factual.
Yeah. Which is like, it's kind of funny. I don't think this is true, even though he did say it, but Kendrick Lamar, this was after the release of Damn, on some radio show, they had him like rank his albums. And he ranked Damn number 1, but I don't think
that was like during the Damn era, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think it's just about self promotion. Like you got to say like, oh yeah, this is my best
like,
work.
Who's gonna say? Yeah, who's gonna say like the album that they're promoting is like not the best?
Yeah, but like I think it was just so strange to me because I was just like, well, To Pimp a Butterfly is obviously better.
Yeah, it's just objectively, but yeah, For Free, it's like, I don't know. The drums always trip me up in this song. Like, I have no idea where the downbeat is.
Oh, it's fucking
you know, hip hop. Yeah, hip hop is so downbeat driven. Like by the downbeat, it's like, you know, you feel that like 1, 2, 3, 4. But when it comes to For Free, there's almost like no downbeat. You don't really know. You don't really have too much of a frame of reference, which kind of adds to like that chaos. Because you don't really know like how to bob your head or anything, because you kind of can't. And the fact that he can rap over that is just another testament to his like skill, you know, rhythmically, because to make it sound rhythmic or like in time, you know, with no downbeat is very difficult.
Yeah, he was like showing a lot of like no other rappers are going to even like try to do that. Like he was standing on his own. Yeah, Good Kid, Mad City, the success of that kind of had him in the conversation of like amongst, you know, like the Tupacs and Biggies and Andre 3000s. But like to Pimp a Butterfly kind of put him in a different conversation of like, oh, there's Kendrick Lamar, and then there's like the Beatles, and then the David Bowie and like the Velvet Under, you know, and Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
They put him in like amongst like those greats of just like, yeah.
I totally see that. I mean, there's just a lot of innovation with, you know, whether it's Good Kid, Mad City or To Pimp a Butterfly, you know, in a way that surpasses even more popular artists, because this kind of music like pushes the boundaries of what's possible, you know. So
yeah, and like
that counts for a lot, like more than just like, oh, he's a great rapper, you know, he's like the best rapper. It's like, oh no, he's like really, you know, pushing the boundaries of what we define as hip hop.
Yeah, and pop music.
Yeah, pop music,
popular music, because this put him in that echelon. Yeah, and I'll just talk for like a second, I guess, about the like marketing and rollout more. So, you know, there is that kind of upset with the hip hop category with Good Kid, Mad City, and a lot of, you know, to vote in the Grammys. I don't know the exact requirements, but I'm going to assume just people that work in the music industry, and a lot of them, they don't know exactly you know, what's going on and what's hip, and a lot of their votes are based of like what they hear about and name recognition. So for To Pimp a Butterfly, I kind of like caught a few things that they were doing to kind of get his name in those people's minds, and one of them is him performing on Ellen DeGeneres. So he performed These Walls, I think, in April or something. So like about a little bit after a month. And it was, you know, he's wearing a sweater, and then there's like some dude painting a picture. It's supposed to be like artsy. And I love the song.
Artsy fartsy.
But a part of me like was like kind of like, why is Kendrick Lamar on this show? Because, you know, I knew it as the show my grandmother watched and stuff. So, you know, they have like the Justin Biebers, the country artists, you know, the Jonas Brothers, you know, people like Ricky Martin and stuff. Hip hop wasn't really that big of a thing unless you were like Flo Rida or Pitbull. So that was like a very like pretty dramatic thing as far as like marketing and getting the name Kendrick Lamar out there. And then another thing, Taylor Swift had posted a video of her singing on Good Kid, Mad City, the big single, the big one.
Oh, like swimming pools?
No. Okay, that was the big one. The other big one. Biatch. Okay. Biatch. Okay. Biatch, I look like OJ killing everything for a pussy.
Oh, Backstreet Freestyle?
Yes. She posted a video of herself singing that. And then like a week later, a music video of hers came out, and it was a remix to a song, and Kendrick had the opening verse on it, on the remix.
Yeah, he was on one of her songs, wasn't he?
Bad Blood. So it was a song that was already out. It was on the album. This was a music video version, and he was in the music video. So that's just like, that showed me just kind of like they were putting him out there. Like this was, and
Yeah.
he cleaned up on the Grammys that year.
Yeah. Did this get best rap album?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
It did.
Yes.
It won that at the Grammys. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because Good Kid, Mad City was the big. That's kind of how these award shows.
Yeah.
Scorsese didn't win.
They snub because it's new, and then they like do a oh shit, and like they give him like a bunch of awards at the next project.
Yeah, we'll think of Leo. Like he didn't win till The Revenant. Scorsese didn't win until The Departed. So like, this is just kind of a thing that happens. But when you have Dr. Dre's Aftermath and TDE is now known, like it's pretty legendary. So they made that shit happen.
Okay, I have a hole in your theory.
Okay.
If it always gets an award on the second project.
Wait. That wasn't like a for sure thing in science that I said, but go on.
Then why the fuck did Lizzo win on her first single?
What'd she win?
I don't know. A bunch of shit. Remember we were watching it? She won a bunch of things.
Oh, no.
On the last Grammys.
Oh, I mean, that was the last Grammys. She's been in for a few years. I don't know what she won on that first time.
I was making a joke because she's really bad.
Oh. I don't like... She occupies the space. I mean, probably too much space, but not one I'm like, I'm not paying attention to what she's doing.
It's like one of those artists where like no matter where you go, like it's like playing in like Target and like Disneyland and shit, and you're like, how do I get this song out of my life? It's like Marvel. It's just like ambiently in the back, and you just feel like you're going insane.
It's on Uber driver playlist.
Yeah, it's just a mass psychosis.
But yeah, that seems to happen. I think a bigger like theory, not theory, but things that people notice, if a lot of best new artists do not do anything after.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look back into that.
It's like
to find the examples, but
it's a curse.
I could see that. Yeah, it is a curse because you're putting a shit ton of pressure too, like on that artist.
Yeah.
And like all the record labels, everybody wants to sign best new artist, and everybody has their fucking opinion of what direction they should go in to become, a classic artist. So, yeah, I could see that being really hard to navigate.
Yeah, a lot of the great art isn't realized until, it's only like realized in hindsight. But
yeah,
unlike this album, this is one that hit me. Even though hearing the songs, there was just so much craziness. I didn't know like what was, but I kept fucking listening. And senior year of high school, this definitely became my favorite album.
Oh yeah, this was an instant classic. And what's crazy is like this and Currents came out around the same time.
Yeah.
And they both, and Blonde too. And like
2016.
yeah, this is close. And then like when all those albums came out, I think like everybody felt like they were instant classics like from the beginning. And now like looking back, it's been, 7 years since then.
Yeah.
And it's still just as relevant, So
yeah, those 3 albums.
I feel like we did grow up in like a rare time, where we got like some instant classic albums and everybody kind of knew that they were like great, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, because despite like the social kind of split, To Pimp a Butter, the hoes were not playing To Pimp a Butterfly. That is a fact.
Well, they were playing All Right.
Maybe. It was like sandwiched
they were never
between
doing
songs.
like, yeah, and it was never like how much a dollar costs or anything like that. So
yeah, which is like that's not what this album is. It a lot of people write about this album, which is cool, I guess. But like people would write like essays and articles and try to dissect everything because it's very like there's a lot happening.
yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, there's the whole musical aspect of it, which you can write a fucking massive essay on.
They're writing about what he's saying, not really the musical.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's like the lyrical, aspect, which is what most people write about, and I don't know, there's just so much to unpack there.
Yeah, it gained him a lot of like musical kind of it felt almost like a cross between like Bob Dylan going electric and maybe like Sergeant Pepper or Revolver. It was like dramatic on like multiple levels. And there's a big emphasis on the live performance too, which was, you'd say like Bob Dylan.
I'm going to have like a hot take about that, which is that it felt like that at the moment, but with Kendrick's current career trajectory, like with Damn and the Big Steppers,
yeah,
I just feel like he had that energy, and he kind of like squandered it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I just meant for this project as far as expectation.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
Like expectations people had and then what it did.
Yeah, and for sure. And, when you have an album that's this great, it's so hard to make another,
Yeah.
The same thing with Tame Impala. It's just like, and you can't even focus on that, even though it's so hard. Everybody's like gassing you up, but like you can't focus on the fact that your last album, everyone loves it. Like you have to just like push forward, but I feel like with the pivot that this album took in Kendrick's career, like I was expecting something more experimental, like going forward, so I like his last two projects, but I feel like it's been hard for me to gravitate like as closely to them as Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly and even Section 80, because I don't know, it's just like not the I just feel like he squandered like the experimental energy that he had.
Yeah. That could, I mean, I'm assuming a lot of it is just what he was intending artistically. It could have been how he felt about initial reception from To Pimp a Butterfly, because I think there was like a lot of effort. A lot of these songs had multiple versions. I think For Free has like a Flying Lotus produced version.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, he said it would probably never see the light of day, but
damn,
fingers crossed.
One day.
So it kind of could have been a thing to where he put a lot of effort into this thing, and maybe it wasn't loved by, because it kind of gained him a lot of fans like outside of like hip hop, and somewhat like alienated his fans that wanted more of like a banger like type of thing. So maybe he felt like sort of conflicted, because with Damn, first single Humble, that was that might have been his first number one hit right there. It was the biggest song like of the year, and
DNA.
Yeah, it was like his pop sphere. Like I'm the biggest like rapper like right now.
He's like jumping on that Travis Scott wave that was happening.
Yeah, they had a number one hit.
And doing it 10 times better.
Yeah. Though I mean, those songs where he's like singing, I don't love on that. But yeah, we'll talk more about To Pimp a Butterfly. Institutionalized.
Hold on. Bathroom.
Oh yeah, so stop. So yeah, institutionalized.
Yeah, we skipped over King Kunta, didn't we?
We talked about it briefly. All I said was, or when it came out, it was a song I heard, I guess, from the initial leak. So it was the last song I heard before I got to hear the full album. G-Funk. It was like an expectation, I guess, from fans of, or at least I'm like projecting my own thoughts onto an entire group of people. I wanted to hear Kendrick rap over something G-Funk. It was something that's just in your head. he's on Aftermath. You're listening to, The Chronic and 2001. You're like, God damn, I want to hear fucking Kendrick. So it was,
Yeah.
it was nice to hear. I think it's a sample from some, I don't know the artists, but Kendrick, I think what he described it as, it was like hot in the streets, which I'm not even sure what that means. It's a hip hop record from like 2001 or something. So it's like a faster, it's based around that sample.
Okay, that's sick. Did you know that this album was mixed on Dr. Dre's board too?
I did not, but I'm not surprised because Dr. Dre, from what I hear, takes that shit very seriously.
Yeah, so I guess like, just adding to those like West Coast vibes is like this whole album was made on his board that he made the Chronic on.
He made the Chronic on that board?
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
It's fucking badass. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I heard he controls the board within like his sessions. People that work with him, like he's like on the actual board.
Yeah, he knows how to work it and stuff. Like that's his thing. He's the doctor.
Yeah, we could do a Dr. Dre episode because even that Compton album I think is like super fucking interesting.
I'd be down because like I actually don't know like a ton about him, so I mean obviously I know like the main things, so it'd be nice to dive deeper into some of his stuff. It's not as big.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I respect him a lot as a musician and like the way he'd work with collaborating.
Yeah, I mean he's just an all around like killing it because like he's like a businessman, and he's like also really good at producing, and he's also really good at rapping. He like does everything.
Yeah. So as far as his touch on To Pimp a Butterfly, I don't know like if I even have this right, but I think Kendrick, they kind of made the album, and I think it came around the kind of Dr. Dre around like mixing and mastering, and I think he had them run like the through a tape machine.
I could see that.
And
I know it was through his board, but I don't know what else there was, but there's definitely a lot of warmth to the album and the production.
Yes.
That's kind of symbolic of like older hip hop records.
Yeah, just
I mean, it sounds super analog. Sound. Yeah.
And that ties into the music that like you said, mentioned Currents and Mac DeMarco. That's all that was happening at that time, and it became kind of cool to kind of record your music with tape and use tape. I could have that wrong, but I believe that's kind of what I heard, that Dr. Dre, or at least the sound, it could have been a plug-in, but I'm sure they have like the resources to use actual tape. I'll have to like somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But
what if Dr. Dre was like, "Yo, I know just what it needs," and he just pulls up like Ableton? No, he just pulls up GarageBand and he like puts it through like a tape plug-in that's like stock.
Better yet, he like puts it through a Metal Zone guitar pedal. I know just what this needs.
It's like it's complete.
It's like the fucking video of the RZA making a beat.
Yeah.
It's like yeah. Ali and Soundwave are like, yeah, we didn't let that old fucking dude touch shit on this album.
Yeah.
Which is also
they're like dope, man, and then when he leaves, they like switch it back.
Yeah, which is also another thing. Ali mixes in mono.
Yeah, so the mono stereo thing, and mono is basically the sound projecting through both of your speakers, but stereo is the left and the right speakers acting independently. So you could have guitar on the right, and then you can have bass on the left or whatever, and mono it's gonna come out of the speakers the same way.
Yeah.
And
so in another sense, if you're listening to music with only one headphone, you could go on the settings and switch it to mono, so all of the sound is coming out of the one headphone rather than half of it.
Yeah, so I think I've been looking into music production lately, and a lot of the advantages of mono are that it's much more playable. Because you could, when you're at a concert, right? You're not gonna have like every speaker, pointed at you at the same distance like you would in headphones. You're just gonna have that one speaker that's in front of you, and that's what you're gonna hear. So a lot of the like bangers and a lot of the more hard hitting music, mono serves a lot of it well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these albums are in stereo, but he does an initial mix in a mono I'm assuming to get some sort of like evenness and to build the sound like top to bottom before thinking about left to right.
Interesting.
Yeah, because mono. People didn't start doing stereo until I think maybe the late '60s. Like not until let's see, if we're talking in
I
Beatles
think actually
terms,
the Beatles started it.
Yeah, that's very possible. For the album that they did stereo, I think it might have been Sergeant Pepper, but then it might have been released in mono as well.
I think, yeah, but it was either Sergeant Pepper or like Rubber Soul or something, but somewhere in that era they started doing stereo mixes.
Which is, yeah, I mean, easiest way is just like, it's just a bigger, more high definition sound. Things are spread out more.
Yeah,
rather than one speaker.
It can create the illusion of 3D space.
Yes.
Because, it's around you.
Yes, it's around.
But that's cool. I think Ollie did a lot of the production of this album, right? Like, I think he kind of spearheaded this album in terms of the musicality of it, especially like the more hip-hop elements. But I could be talking out of my ass.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as far as production side, his roles. I know he mixes and masters his stuff, and he DJs live too. So I mean, he's with them. So I'm sure he has like a big part in production. Yeah, him and Soundwave, and Thundercat was like pretty heavy on this album too. We didn't even talk about.
Thundercat was a big aspect.
Yeah. I wish he was on all of Kendrick's songs.
Yeah. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, so King Kunta, G-Funk, did you have anything to say about that?
Nah, I agree. Sick.
Yeah, cool song. Fans love it at concerts. Great live, go see him. So
what do you think of Institutionalized?
That was one that I liked immediately, because the first few songs, For Free, Wesley's Theory, King Kunta, I heard it before, so Institutionalized had more of an easy vibe, kind of gave me like a 90s R&B, like pop type of vibe, it just like an easy kind of like what you would think like TLC.
Yeah,
that kind of like light. That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Like the tempo is like of that kind of era too. It's a little slower.
Yeah,
than like your typical like hip hop song.
Yeah, that and You Ain't Gotta Lie, like give me both of those songs give me that sort of a vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, and then Snoop Dogg's performance is great. It really stood out the first listen through the album. A very poppy record. It's probably the most accessible record up until this point. I feel like people don't play it as often, in hindsight. Listening through the album, I still like it, but
I feel like when the album came out, this was like one of the tracks that stuck with me in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I don't know, maybe it was just like the fact that it's a little bit more accessible and like straightforward than like what came before it on the album. But when I went back and listened to it for this podcast, I almost felt like it's actually a really like odd song. Like it's very like
in the track list.
I don't know. Yeah, just in the track list, like the flow, like the hook,
chorus.
like the chorus, like there's like a clarinet playing through it that's like doing like random shit, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
the song is actually really odd, but like in a cool way, like in a Alice in Wonderland type of way. Like it's like trippy. It's so
Yeah.
I like this song a lot, you know. It has a lot of character, and then Snoop Dogg I feel like really adds, like he takes it to the next level, you know.
Yeah, which also like feeds into the, King Kunta gave us him over G Funk, and then right
Yeah.
after we have a song with him and Snoop Dogg, which is making us West Coast hip hop fans. Especially
Totally.
from being like Los Angeles. It's
Yeah,
that's what you want to hear.
and Snoop Dogg just like understands the assignment, just like
Yeah.
he just like completes it. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. But These Walls is probably one of my favorite songs that Kendrick's ever made.
Yeah. It's great.
The
Took me-
video is also really awesome.
Yeah, I actually have different feelings about that video. I don't love.
That's fine.
This is more of music videos in general. I don't like the long music video where like the song, there's like a lot of acting and then like the song.
Yeah, it's like just
stops.
part of it.
Yeah, because if you're like playing music videos and now it's like the music stopping,
Yeah,
Michael
I li-
Jackson.
I was gonna
would
say
do
like
that.
Thriller. Yeah,
Yeah. And, Thriller, I think Bad does that too. Because there's like a whole like, what are you bad? You're not bad. Or whatever they're fucking arguing about in the parking garage. And then Weird Al, of course,
Or
does
fat.
the fat.
Yeah.
You ain't fat. you ain't
What-
fat. You ain't nothing. You ain't
what
nothing.
do they say? Like, oh yeah, like eat this donut.
Or how about a cheeseburger? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Yeah, we'll probably do a Weird Al episode as well. But yeah, the song's great. It took me a few listens to like realize that he was talking about, I think, like eating a girl out. So that's something.
Okay, with These Walls, the walls can mean like a lot of different things, you know.
But pussy.
Like, yeah, it can mean like a vagina. It can also mean like prison cell, you know. It
Mhm.
can also mean like the mind. Like there's just, and that's another thing with Kendrick and like his lyrics. A lot of times it means like 3 or 4 things at once, you know, and he can like switch between them so easily. You almost
Yeah.
don't even notice. But
I
yeah,
did it.
this one definitely carries the theme, like the heavy themes of the album, like really well.
Yeah, and it's a great record. It's a great earworm. I learned it, on guitar and stuff. Like, it's catchy, and that's he performed
Good
it on
guitar
Ellen.
line. Yeah, good guitar line. This girl who sings it, I forget her name, but she's also really good.
Yeah, great performance. I do not know
Yeah.
her name.
Also, the
Yeah.
outro of this song is really dope. The outros of a lot of these songs are really dope. It's a lot of it switches around. Like it'll be an element that wasn't in the rest of the song, and it kind of carries it to the next song.
Yeah, amazing. Shout out to Terrence Martin, I believe is his name. Got to meet him actually once.
Is that
and
the
tell him
piano
that I
player?
liked- I think he plays piano, and he plays saxophone. I don't know if he still plays saxophone with Kendrick live, but at least at some LA shows that I saw, he was out there.
That's sick.
But yeah, just got to briefly meet him and tell him that I liked the album a lot. He said thank you. But yeah, so shout out to him. You want to go on to You?
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of craziness happening on this album, and this one really like kicks it up a notch.
yeah. This one's insane. And I feel like on its own, it would sound weird. Like it would, like if you just heard this song alone, like without the rest of the album as context, you would be like, "What the fuck?" But that kind of just is a testament to how great this album is laid out with its themes and its like pacing, because it fits so perfectly after These Walls and before All Right. So
Yeah.
you know, it's a testament
Oh yeah,
to
and
that.
like Kendrick Lamar, along with like Frank Ocean and Tame Impala, got I think a lot of people back into albums
For sure.
because
A
it's
lot
like
of the songs they are better in the context of the album.
yeah, yeah, and just albums and good albums, classic albums weren't, or at least didn't seem like as much of a thing like amongst like popular music, but you have Channel Orange coming out, which was it very much got people into albums. What was the second Tame Impala one? Lonerism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one people loved. And then, of course, The Pimp a Butterfly. And then Currents came out just a couple of, or the next month, I think, maybe.
Yeah, they came out close together.
So, yeah, people, are talking about, this one was pretty split, but everybody was talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was getting a lot of praise from industry and, like, publications. I'm not sure what Pitchfork rated it, but I'm sure it rated it pretty high. The Needle Drop, I think, gave it a 10 out of 10.
Pitchfork might have given it a 10.
So they and the Needle Drop both gave it a 10?
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to check. And also, they, like, re-rate things sometimes on Pitchfork. But I'm pretty sure it was a 10 as well.
Yeah, so despite like split reactions, I would think amongst hip hop fans, it was definitely getting a lot of praise.
Yeah, it's like when you look on Rotten Tomatoes and you see audience score 100, or no, you see like what is it? Critics score 100, then like audience score is like 80.
Yeah,
that's a good description of what this album was when it came out. Yeah. So
yeah, and then it's just a matter of just like what people like to listen to. So a lot of people are just casual, the Transformers and stuff, and then some people like watching like other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I won't get too into that.
You is one of those songs that kind of like is not as accessible, but also it's like fucking sick, and like in the way that it's like the place that it's placed in the album,
yeah,
is really good.
Yeah, right before All Right, which is it's like the very like self-destructive, kind of heartbreaking song, and then it gets followed by All Right, which is a very uplifting, powerful song.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to sort of this other theme that's in the album of kind of almost manically going back and forth between like happy, sad, pissed, relaxed, all these sorts of like different things. So yeah, All Right, Pharrell.
Yeah, fantastic beat by Pharrell.
808s.
Sings the hook. I don't know if the vocals are like samples of him singing that he recorded, but
yeah, like the chords.
Yeah, the chords of vocals, that shit is sick. The drum pattern is great. Yeah, his hook is amazing. Kendrick
this one is super hi-fi too, so maybe this might go back to like it going through Dre's board, but like something about the way that Pharrell made the beat, plus like the way it was mastered on Dre's board, like makes it sound so good. Like it sounds like Random Access Memories, like silk. It's so well produced.
Yeah, that's funny because I feel that way, but it also there's something very like gritty to it to me.
Yeah, it's the bass is like booming, but it's like and it's like that little bit of grit is kind of what makes it, sound right.
Yeah, Pharrell's gotten pretty into like booming 808s in his production throughout like the 2010s and like
Oh, for sure. I mean, the last Nerd album like was very 808 driven. Like he was almost like experimenting with the 808s too. Like he would pitch it up to the point where it wasn't even a bass line anymore. It was like a melody.
Yeah.
And then, he would like rap over it with like, punk beat behind it. That was pretty interesting. We'll have to do a nerd podcast, but like that Pharrell was definitely on that same wave of like experimenting with like 808s and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's it.
he's
All
a true
Right's
artist.
just awesome. No matter how many times I hear All Right, like I'll still like enjoy it and listen to it to the end.
Yeah, great song. I remember the music video coming out. I think I was at the beach that day. I remember when there was photos of him filming the music video, and he was up on like top of a light pole
And he's like
in
floating.
downtown Los Angeles. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Staples Center. But
it's a sick music video.
yeah, him and Black Hippie in the car when he does that verse and like there's like from cartoons and cereal.
Yeah.
A little throwback. But yeah. So yeah, All Right, great song, great video. Then after is For Sale, which is like preparing for this. I mean, I always liked the song, but this, I mean, I'll get to my favorite song later, but this one I was like, God damn, like this song's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat of like, I kind of took that lyric driven approach because it was nice to learn something new. And I just realized that this is like, it says it's the interlude, right? But it's like the exact halfway point of the album, pretty much, like the theme wise and kind of music wise as well. And, yeah, it's just sick. Like when you absorb it in the context of the album and with the lyrics as well, it's like, damn, this guy's writing like a story, and now he's gonna like switch to the next, phase.
Yeah. And then, the hook and verses. Oh, yeah. He has a lot of, like, sugar-free influence. Like, when you're talking about, like, how he is rhythmically on For Free and, like, the downbeat. And he's just kind of going off. It, like...
Yeah.
It's, like, very, like, sugar-free. Just, like... Just fucking going. Like, this experimental... Because I wouldn't think of sugar-free in, like... He's definitely abstract, but then you could use it in like a psychedelic way, which is like what Kendrick does on this album, which is like so fucking cool. It's just like he's such a fan of hip hop and music and was able to apply it in such a unique way on these songs.
Definitely.
And, props to him, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and, I'm just getting so excited just thinking about this song right now. It's so cool, just like. As how you like would want someone as a musician to like go ham like on their instrument, he's able to do with rapping.
Yeah, and the thing is like that's really like energy based and rhythmically based, but also there's like this whole other aspect to what he's doing, which is like he's actually writing like a poem.
Yeah.
He's able to like creatively write a poem with a great message, and a lot of times it's like a really valid and like true message and something that we don't even want to talk about, It's very vulnerable, and then he can do that, rapping as skillfully, as you're like alluding to.
Yeah, it's just another level of talent he has, and makes this project really special.
Yeah. So this kind of like, I would classify it as the second half of the album. Kind of kicks it off with Mama, which is maybe my favorite Kendrick song. It used to be. It was definitely for a time my favorite Kendrick song, yeah.
Yeah, this is my favorite Kendrick song. I didn't know this was your favorite Kendrick song. This is like, hands down like my favorite Kendrick song.
Oh yeah, it's such a good song.
The beat is fucking great.
Yeah, Knowledge, like it's probably the best beat he's ever made.
Yeah.
That guy knows how to make a fucking beat.
Yeah, and he even sounds like pretty like Fly-Lo like influence. I would have assumed Fly-Lo was doing, like that bottle like percussion, like
I'm sure they worked together on it. I know it was Knowledge's beat, but
Oh yeah, yeah. He's the producer, but
yeah.
I just felt that influence.
Oh, for sure. And then like when
The
everything
bass.
goes out and the bass just goes wow 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 wow, and
Fuck
it's
yeah.
just so behind the beat. Like Knowledge is, he's really good at like that kind of like drunken swing thing.
Hmm.
That Jay Dilla kind of pioneered. I feel like Knowledge takes it to the next level of like it's like super swung, but also it's like bopping hard, you know. And this
Yeah.
song, he just knocks it out of the fucking park. And then like Kendrick, you know, talking about like staying true to himself, like, you know, going back to his roots after all the crazy shit that he described with like fame, you know, and all the turmoil
Yeah, the
of like
beginnings
trying
of
to
like
find himself. Yeah.
yeah, like gaining success and having different experiences, thinking you've gained so much, and then you come home and like you're humbled. That
Right.
second verse, I didn't know shit, and then the way it ties into the chorus, "We've been waiting for you," is like so fucking cool. It's like
Yeah, it's like almost
amazing.
like spiritual.
Oh, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's like the beginnings of like what you hear like on Mr. Morale. Like he kind of has like that like God, not God complex. I guess just like being seen, like being put on a pedestal. And it's like the beginnings of like his struggles with his success and like what it's doing to his ego.
Yeah,
To like,
Kendrick. Yeah.
yeah, like oh I've had the success, I've seen stuff, but like nope.
Right. Well, the thing is too, I think like what I get from this one is like when you gain success as like a rapper or just like anybody, you like lose a part of yourself and you like forget who you are, you know? And a lot of people like never come back from that, you know? Like a lot of these like A-list celebrities, like they're just different people now. They live in like a different world. Like Ellen's a perfect example of that, you know? She's like in her own fucking world,
Yeah.
right? But like how Kendrick kind of copes with this like identity crisis, you know, of becoming famous and trying to like navigate that, you know, is by basically going home, like either physically, you know, to whether it's back to Compton or to Africa, or like mentally, you know, where he goes back to being like that kid from Compton and like, you know, who his friends are and all those things, you know. Like everything, all of the fame is more of just like a distraction, and he has to remember who he is, you know, in order to cope with it.
Yeah. Yeah. He went to Ghana for the release of Mr. Morale.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, like when the album actually came out, he was in Ghana.
Oh, that's cool. That makes sense, you know. It's like I'm gonna go here. I don't want to fucking deal with shit. Like, just put it out. Like, I'll come back. You know, when it's like died down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
He seems
Chappelle.
yeah, yeah, most definitely. They seem very artistic guys
Yeah.
and like to struggle with like ego and whatnot. Yeah.
Right. There's one thing that I picked up. I've heard this song a million times, but there's one thing that I picked up on from this song that I didn't realize before, and it's one of the things that I think makes it so great is that drunken beat that Knowledge is you know made for this, super super fucking behind the beat, but Kendrick's pacing and the way he's rapping is actually very straight, and that clash of him rapping straight and not rapping, you know, in that drunken swing style, but the beat being in that drunken swing style really makes the song for me. Like,
Yeah.
and it's one of those really subtle things that adds so much to it, and like I could never put my finger on it before. Then when I heard it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what like gives it that like original flair, and it just sounds really, I don't know, just sounds really smooth and cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his flow on all three of these verses. Well, each verse kind of has like its own personality and theme to it. But yeah, the way he's riding on the beat is, I mean, I didn't think about it as technically as that, as far as him, kind of rapping straight over like a drunken beat.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, whatever it's doing, it works. Especially that third verse at the very end. That flow he goes into, and that was bullshit.
Right.
Oh, dude,
And
that
then I
shit
realized
gets
I
me
didn't know shit.
That shit gets me so like excited, and just I don't know what it is. It's very uplifting.
Well, it's because
it's a great end to the song.
yeah, it's because, and this is another thing Kendrick is so fucking great at, and why this song is like one of the best, is because the whole verse is about all these things he knows. He's being a fucking know-it-all. He's saying he's being cocky because everyone's gassing him up and they want him to be cocky, and then he just realized he didn't know shit. He's having an ego death, and it's just like perfectly timed with the beat. The beat goes out, and that's another thing on this album too, is like sometimes he'll drop like a truth bomb and the beat will just like go out, and then like it'll echo, like the line will like echo at the end or something, and it's like, damn, that just goes to the production aspect of it. It's like the production and the lyrics, like they connect, whether it's like the vibe of the song, connecting with the lyrics and what he's saying, or like, the impactful part of the verse, like being highlighted through the production, whether it's like effects or like dropping out, of the band dropping out. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that one.
Yeah, but I mean, great song, great verses. And I even goes into like another kind of interlude. I think that everything or loving you is complicated.
Yeah.
Which I think on I, when he performed it on SNL, I think he did that. As like the second half of I think he did one of the interludes on To Pimp a Butterfly, as like the second half of I on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and see, because it's been so long since I've seen that.
Oh, the great performance. Introduced by Woody Harrelson, and he has black eye contacts.
Yeah, I'm sure he had his own logic too behind like how he structured, and what interlude he wanted to play, and like why. So that's cool.
Yeah. So great song. I didn't know it was your favorite song. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely my favorite Kendrick song. But actually, now I don't know, but it was for a time, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So, hood politics.
Yeah. This song gives off good Kid, Mad City vibes for sure.
Yeah. This song, I don't know why. I don't know what picture it paints in my head, but it's like really hard. It's almost like dangerous sounding.
Yeah, you know what I put down is that this song is like a modern day NWA song. Like the same impact that like Straight Outta Compton would have had like then is like what hood politics is like now, like modern. It's like a modern version of like an NWA song.
Okay. That's interesting.
That's
what I was
get
originally
from
going to
it.
say, but I thought it might have been too much. It makes me feel like I'm gonna get stomped in the street.
You're gonna get shot up.
Nah, not that. But it's just a very fucking mean and like hard, like sounding, like the way he's like rapping over like the beat is like, it's pretty like cool.
Yeah, and he's got like all the LA gang shout outs and stuff. It's like, I don't know, it's a really cool song. Yeah.
Obama say what it do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so he's like rapping about fucking like the streets of LA, right? Like these gang wars, these gang turfs, like all these beefs. and then he like switches it to like politics. Like he ties it into politics, which I think is like really interesting direction and a cool direction to take. Like, cause kind of what I see it, the way I see it is like kind of what he's alluding to is like it's kind of all the same. It's kind of all the same shit. They're like gang turf wars, like red and blue, like it's all the same. And then yeah, when he ties it into the politics and it kind of just like you think about the album cover, and
Yeah.
kind of the meaning behind that, and I feel like
And even the poem.
right, right. So it's just
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the poem at all. He's doing this. That's one of like the interludes to these songs. Is this poem that progresses throughout the album?
right with the piano behind it,
Yeah,
like that melody behind it.
yeah. Which is honestly, I wasn't paying much attention because I wasn't trying to dissect the several layers that was going on. I was just sort of enjoying it on a pretty, I wouldn't just say surface level, but I was enjoying more so the performances happening than trying to dissect the conversation between him and Tupac and the album. But at the end
Right.
of the poem, he mentions, and which is kind of it's kind of similar to like the meeting that Don Corleone has in The Godfather after Sonny is killed. Spoiler alert. When he has the families meet and just kind of wants to put a whatever pain, he already lost his son, like let's just stop the madness. And at the end of the poem, he's like, it says something about forgetting about all the hurt, we caused each other, just to respect each other as like black men and unify to stop the enemy as far as like the oppressor, which is what I'm assuming, from killing us.
That's like facts. That's basically a huge theme of the album, and what makes it so powerful, is he can do all this and then also pull it back to that meaning, and that's just one of the meanings, But that's that's the main. That is one of the main meanings of this album, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it just kind of because I watched The Godfather again recently, and I was like, oh shit, it's pretty.
Yeah, actually,
similar emotion.
I don't want to go too crazy into the controversy, but like, I guess there was some controversy with this album I didn't know about. But on I forget. Oh yeah, no, it's the Blacker the Berry. He kind of talks about how like hypocritical it is that like people and this is getting way more political than the usual podcast.
The last line?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I guess that caused a lot of controversy where like, he's basically saying like we weep for Trayvon Martin, but like we don't turn an eye when it comes to like gang violence, and it's like hypocritical. So
yeah, and I mean, I guess he would have a career-long like battle, not battle, but just like saying controversial things.
Yeah,
which goes into even Mortal Man. When shit hits the fan, is you still a fan?
Total,
as far as like
total
him.
truth bombs.
But yeah, I kind of that when the Blacker the Berry came out, that's the one I remember like people talking about, and that was a big part of it. Most definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah. Controversy around that.
Okay.
He's starting conversations that, people are having within the world and hip hop and yeah.
Mental health and everything. So hood politics. Oh yeah, another thing I want to say, and I kind of mentioned it before, but to bring it back to when he says Obama say what it do, once he says that, and this goes back to the production, like mixing with the lyrics, the beat like completely changes to like a completely different song. And then he's got like these background vocals,
Yeah.
and it's like a completely different song. And then all of a sudden it just stops and goes right back into the song. But it's like it's so smooth. Like if this was any other artist, like that would sound like shit. But it's like so smooth that you don't even notice. Like you like don't even notice. It's like all just part of the song. But like it's a completely different song inside of a song for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. As far as them making this album, it's really special what they were able to accomplish. I'm sure an insane amount of hours, were and like fights and all sorts of shit, like what went into it, because it's just so bizarre sounding. There's so much happening and so much detail. It's very cinematic.
I don't even know how the fuck it got made, honestly.
Yeah, most talented people, working, I'd say.
Just super ambitious.
Yeah, and it's aged super well. It's one of, not everything ages that well, but, I loved it when it came out, and I still love it now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that part's amazing.
Then it goes into How Much a Dollar Costs, which is an equally awesome song. This is like one of Kendrick's best songs, too.
Yeah, this one's really good. I wouldn't say it was like one of my favorites, but upon like hearing it for the first, few times, it was, definitely a good song. I think it got on, those playlists that Obama does at the end of the year.
Yeah, he did.
I think
he put this one on it.
Yeah, I think this was his favorite song. So, imagine
funny.
just while like throwing like drones, like to Yemen and shit. Like this also, going on in the back, like yes, like send.
Also, this is the song after he disses him on Hood Politics. It's almost like Obama like winking, like, "Yeah, I hear you, I get you. I'm playing the game too."
Yeah. Well, from Compton to I feel like he met like Obama like during this.
He did. I think he did go to the White House.
Yeah.
Didn't Obama invite him to the White House?
I think so. I feel like it was like before this album or during the making of this album. It might have been after To Pimp a Butterfly came out, but I felt like maybe he did go there. He definitely performed there while Obama was still in the White House.
Yeah.
That was after To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
how
much
yeah,
a dollar cost?
Obama's favorite song, I guess. But
yeah,
it's sick. I mean, it's my favorite story on the album. It's it's just great, and the music like perfectly complements the vocals, in this kind of repetitive, almost like droney way. And yeah, the last verse is awesome when the beggar basically reveals himself as like a prophet. So it's just a story that only Kendrick could tell, and that if anybody else tried to tell this story, it just wouldn't fucking make sense.
Yeah,
like it'd be too confusing.
Yeah, and vocal feature from singer from the Isley Brothers, Ronald, I think. Which I never really paid much attention to who was. I thought it was a woman, to be honest, but instead it was an 80-year-old man. But after like seeing that, I was like, oh yeah, it does fucking sound like the Isley Brothers music.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would love to dive deeper into the people who collaborated on this album too, because that's another whole thing to unpack. Like, there's so many legends like on this album, just like low key.
Yeah. So I believe for because they used that Isley Brothers sample, Kendrick went and met with I believe Ronald to kind of get it approved. So I guess after that, he ended up actually getting on another song on the album, because they used that guitar sample from Who's That Lady?
Yeah. On I.
Yeah.
That bend.
Yeah. So how much a dollar cost? Anything else? you want to add?
No, that's a cool one though. Really cool
Yeah.
song.
All right, Complexion. Yeah, all of these songs, I guess, because the first few ones are all pretty like dramatic. There's more of a somewhat of flow happening, I guess, right here. Pretty accessible songs. You know, pleasing to the ear. How much a dollar costs and Complexion.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And,
It starts to go in this sort of like I don't know. It's more of like a traditional hip hop record.
Yeah,
At the end.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, Complexion, great song, great message. That's the one. Yeah, with the verse from Rhapsody, which that might have been like the first time I had heard of her. And, you know, she kills it. Great verse.
Oh yeah, she crushes the verse in the song. And Thundercat crushes this song too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean we'll just go through like all of the songs to keep talking about how everybody
Yeah.
did such a great job.
Pretty much.
'Cause they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great album.
Yeah, it's like, usually there's like bad things to say, but there's really nothing bad to say about this whole album. Complexion's one of those ones too, like, I don't know, it's just good. Like, I don't really have much other to say than like, yeah, that song's dope.
Yeah, the chords
But-
are cool. I like the riff. It's almost like metal-esque. Like do do do. It's
yeah,
like heavy,
it's
the way it's
dissonant.
moving.
Yeah, it's like dissonant in a cool way, and then it all cuts out. And then it just like jumps back in. Oh, my vocals are ass right now because I lost my voice, but you get the
Oh
point.
yeah, Thundercat is on it because he's playing like those kind of riffy,
Yeah.
like higher up on the bass. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
like Thundercat.
I think he's doing the harmonies too, which
Okay.
really carry this song pretty well.
Yeah, the chorus is great. It's like weird to have, like you mentioned earlier. It's one thing to have like catchy stuff, but then he's like saying, he has like a very big message on top of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so great.
Blacker
Great song,
the Berry.
great song. Blacker the Berry, we talked a bit about, but fuck, man. What a fucking fire ass song.
Yeah, it's just the first word that jumps out to me is like just powerful. This song is just so powerful. It's just fucking huge. Like
Drums are fucking ooh. Those drums are
Yeah.
fucking nasty fucking sounding.
Yeah,
snare,
or that the
ooh.
singing like that like I don't know,
With
like that
the
like
feature?
African kind of singing. Yeah, the feature. It's just sick.
Yeah, I don't know like who that is.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to look into it too, but yeah,
Like
he just knows how to make a statement, with this song, and then, after he's just going crazy, kind of like Backstreet Freestyle. He's just like going crazy, and then it goes into like the super chill part, like at the end.
Mhm.
It's just such an emotional roller coaster.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
the production on this song goes hard too. Like it kind of matches like his energy with the snare. It's just like the snares are super loud,
Mhm.
just like
Yeah.
almost like blasting out, the rest of the production.
Yeah, and whatever that like riff or sample is that keeps like ascending, like getting higher, is very nice. Tension builds definitely for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he comes in super fucking hard. But yeah. So where were we at? The Blacker the Berry. So You Ain't Gotta Lie. Talked about it a bit before. Very
Yeah.
accessible. Kind of 90s R&B type of a vibe. it
Just
was
like a
giving me.
West Coast chiller,
Yeah. Yeah, I that's one song you can't play around the house.
Yeah.
Oh god. All right. But yeah. So this one's interesting cuz now we're getting into these releases cuz there's different versions of the song. So that initial single release in September is very different from version that appears on this, which they kind of they almost like recreated a live type of setting. It's not the version from Saturday Night Live, but it's more similar to that version.
Okay.
Yes. And then there's that whole second part where he starts
Yeah.
yelling.
Yeah. So, it's just such a 180 from You Ain't Gotta Lie, because it's like, this song's almost like James Brownish. It's like really funky, and
You know what? I guess that's kind of like with the live performances, like this type of standard he was trying to like
I'm
be up
pretty
to.
sure that's what he
Yeah.
was going for.
Which
Yeah.
is fucking good because James Brown was a fucking amazing performer.
Yeah, I
And
think he
hip
was
hop
kind of
is
doing an homage to that.
Oh yeah, and hip hop has a reputation, for kind of not having good live performances or lazy, and like James Brown and everything his band was and the standard he held was the exact opposite of lazy. Like you'll get fucking kicked out of that shit. Like you have to be fucking on.
Yeah, he was
So-
notorious for kicking people out if they fucked up on stage.
Yeah.
Like they were not part of the band anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, lyrically, it's like after he's going through all this like hell and like self-judgment, like questioning things, he just realizes that like, self-love is like the answer.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a cool song. It's got a good piano part. And then yeah, kind of what you're alluding to, it's like got its own like little interludes, where he's kind of talking to the crowd. Maybe it's kind of like what he's always wanted to say, to people, but it's cool the way that they produced it,
Yeah.
and they make you really feel like you're there. And it's another one of those things, like in the context of another in the context as a single or in another album that wasn't hitting as hard, you'd probably, or another artist performing it, you'd probably be like, what the fuck? But like, since it meshes so well with the themes of the album and Kendrick's energy and the production so high, it's like you're just in it like hook, line, and sinker, whatever he's saying, you feel like you're there. So
Yeah. I mean, I'll only bring it up now because you mentioned it a few times. But as far as like, if it was anyone else, like it wouldn't be cool. I can't imagine anyone else ever like doing anything like this. And
nobody would
doing.
even attempt it. Yeah, like you don't hear
Yeah.
Drake doing something like that on like his album,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Drake did something like that was this, like I think it would still be great. But like that's not Drake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also
So
like,
I wouldn't even think
don't-
about it in a way of like if there was another artist.
Yeah, I just think of it in like the way that like I guess what I mean to say is like what other, top tier rappers are doing something like so theatrical like on their albums,
Okay.
or even trying to. And even if another rapper did try, like it would just be like cringe. But he's like so talented that it works.
I see. Okay. So it's like a fully realized, like kind of hard vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
not, like,
balls and talent to
half-assed
pull
thing.
it off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, nobody. He is the only one that like possesses the talent. Because a lot of people try to do like kind of different cool shit, but like those ideas aren't like. What do you think about Drake's fucking dance album?
Exactly.
So if okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, so Moral Man, last song on the album. If shit hits the fan, is you still a fan? He'll carry that
Yep.
theme. Cut to us going to see Louis C.K. But yeah, a pretty accessible record. What do you think about this song?
Oh, I love the horn part on this song.
Mm-hmm.
The horn parts are sick. They really like weave in really well with the lyrics. Yeah, it's an awesome song. It's a great closer. kind of as like the final curtain, you know,
Yeah.
his last words, and it calms it down a little bit, you know, and he's just hitting like cool truth bombs. And also, yeah, when it comes to Louis C.K., I feel like, you know, shit kind of hit the fan with him. But I mean, now I wouldn't go see like Bill Cosby. Like I'll still go see Louis C.K., but like I would never see like fucking like
Well,
a
yeah, he uses the example
something
of like
worse.
Michael Jackson, which is like, it's a whole
Yeah,
different conversation.
totally.
But
That brings up a good point. You know, it's like people still play Michael Jackson, and I'm not gonna lie. Like when a Michael Jackson song comes on, I can't like not listen to it. You know, and it's just good. You know,
yeah,
but it's really true.
yeah. Like Chris Rock, said, just one has better music.
Yeah, totally.
Um, but yeah, he alludes to a couple, like if he gets caught up, yeah, if I'm tried in a court of law, if the industry cut me off, if the government want me dead, plant cocaine in my car, would you judge me a drug head or see me as Lamar or question my character and degrade me on every blog? So he's kind of like really, as far as like anything happening and it getting blown into like some crazy thing on the internet.
Yeah,
He's kind
controversy.
of like, yeah, he's had that like mentality pretty consistently. I guess he doesn't, him and like Chappelle and like Frank Ocean, like they aren't people that like really fuck with like what the internet is like saying, kind of a thing, or like the culture of like, blogs and gossipy stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in that stuff, especially if they're writing about you. But, you know, I think with this album and just kind of in general with artists like that, like, they acknowledge it, you know, and you can tell that they struggle with it in some ways. But, like, the theme is always to, like, shrug it off and, you know, to do your thing.
Yeah, and not like give energy like to those sort of
don't
things.
feed the troll. Yeah,
which is like, those are like three of like the most successful artists in their field, so it's a pretty like good example, I think, to when everybody in the world is on TikTok and videotaping and filming everything, but then to have like three of the most popular and successful and respected artists to put into their work, but then also lead by like a living example of just kind of staying away from, I think, even to leading up to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, that statement that Kendrick believed that he goes months without a phone and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like a lot of, everybody says that's like the most horrible thing, like for your mental health. So to have like, these successful people showing by example, like, oh, we're not going to be a part of that.
Kendrick, I feel like, is the best example of that. I would say with Chappelle, I feel like, to be honest, that Chappelle, like, I really feel like he actually is affected by the shit that they say about him, and that's why he keeps talking about it and he won't move on. And he keeps talking about like the trans controversy, like just keeps like talking about what critics say about him and stuff. Like he gives off the energy that like he's like, oh, like I don't give a fuck what they say, but also this person said this about me and this is what I think about it. So it's like, yeah, you actually do care. Kind of like Trump, it's like
I think
you actually
cares.
do care. Like you care too much.
Yeah.
And with Frank, I don't even know. I don't even know. He's just like in his own world.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure Chappelle like definitely cares. I just think he doesn't like it.
Yeah, he definitely does not.
As far as like a back and forth, Like, he did get tackled, on stage,
Yeah.
like over it. So I mean, he got attacked over it. So it's not kind of like he's not having an argument with the sky.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But
What'd you think of the like interview with Tupac at the end?
this is like the part of the album I remember everybody fucking talking about, and I couldn't have been less interested. When listening to it now, it was fine. It kind of reminded me of like, those AI conversation, like those fake.
Which is funny
conversations they'll
because
do.
Tupac is the first person that they recreated, on stage.
Yeah,
But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it does have that.
visual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, from an interview. Then they insert, a conversation with Kendrick, which is like pretty interesting and cool. But I think it was just kind of annoying me because the album was so good, but this is the part that everybody just kept bringing up. So it made me almost like not ever pay attention to it. Which it's not like I'm listening to this every time that album comes on.
Yeah, I actually don't even know if I ever listened to the whole thing before like actually actively listening to the whole thing before we started doing research for this podcast. I felt like it's pretty dope. Like it gives a lot of good insight to where Kendrick's head is, at the time for like the album, like conceptually, kind of like the questions he's asking Tupac are things that he's struggling with or going through, and he feels like the only person that would be able to relate to him in that way would be somebody like Tupac. And then like kind of the questions he's asking him, and like it just gives a lot of good, it's almost like a director commentary, of the album. So in that way it's cool. But yeah, it's definitely like a weird like choice, It's very artistic.
It's a big swing like the rest of this album.
Yeah, totally. But it's growing on me. At first, it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just like I never listened to it because I probably was in the same boat as you. I was like, yeah, everybody's like always talking about it, and like I just heard the fucking best album ever, and like now there's just like a random interview with somebody who's dead, at the end.
Yeah.
But like nah, I get it. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I guess I must have just had idiots, I must have just, been acquainted with like dumb people. Because when that Coachella thing happened, people, I don't know why, would say that he was alive. And then with this, that's what was being said again, which is almost like you might as well just be like screaming gibberish in another language. Like you're saying nothing. Like Tupac's dead. Like who?
Yeah.
Like you're humoring like a fucking like the dumbest conspiracy theory.
Yeah. I love that conspiracy theory that Tupac is alive. And
You love that conspiracy theory?
He's in Cuba. I just love it because it's so crazy, like so far-fetched.
And like
it's just funny.
Cuba.
Yeah, it's so random. That's what they say he is, right? In Cuba. I can't remember if it's the Bahamas or Cuba. I don't know why Cuba.
I don't know why Cuba either.
But yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. And did you know that this album was supposed to be called "To Pimp a Caterpillar"? To Pimp a Caterpillar, and I don't know who came back, but they went back to Kendrick, and I think it was the record label, and they were like, "Can you change it? Like this says Tupac."
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't know like why exactly or who said what, but I remember hearing like to pimp a caterpillar.
It's hard to say. We've been talking for like almost 2 hours, but yeah, totally. But yeah, any closing thoughts, final thoughts on the album before we wrap this up?
Okay. More so just like so I said the rollout. I prefaced the podcast with the rollout of the To Pimp a Butterfly. To Pimp a Butterfly comes out. I go to see Kendrick Lamar June of 2015. So I'm pretty like psyched on this album, but he does a pretty. I go to see him at the Staples Center. It's like him with the rest of TDE, and then I think Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube, and he does a pretty heavy Good Kid, Mad City set, and then closes with King Kunta, and he does all right, but just I think the chorus, and then he stops. You know, and but yeah, good performance. Wish he did more To Pimp a Butterfly. But funny enough, at that concert, ran into an old friend who was able to get me backstage, and I briefly got to meet Kendrick Lamar as he was on his way out, and just very quickly got to like shake his hand and tell him that good performance and that I love To Pimp a Butterfly, and he just said a quick thank you and was on his way. But I was just very happy because I was very, very stoked about the album, and I was almost like proud of him. So to be able to get like that little experience, tell him that I loved it, was pretty fucking sick. And then an hat. I have an hat, one of 100. If anyone that knows anything about TDE is listening, I have one. I have two kind of actually, but quarter. Maybe I'll make that the thumbnail for the podcast. But yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah. I was at Roscoe's 2 days ago, and there's a picture of him wearing the hat eating.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Which Roscoe's?
I went to the one in West Hollywood.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
Yeah. But so that was my, he only did 3 songs. Later on that fall 2015, he did a club tour, which, tickets sold out. Fucking I cannot get fucking tickets to that shit. Titled Kunta Groove Session tour. It was the first annual. They never did another one, so I don't even know what the fuck that was about. So that's fall of 2015. You see him spring 2016, he releases Untitled Unmastered. And then you see him summer of 2016. Talk about that.
Okay, yeah, so that was FYF 2016, which is a festival in LA that, rest in peace, no longer exists. But basically,
when shit hits the fan, is you still a fan?
Yeah, the fucking promoter was like
Like
just doing some bad shit apparently.
Yeah.
So it died, which sucks. But I mean, obviously, what are you gonna do?
It was a cunt.
Yeah, the guy was a cunt. But basically, it was Tame Impala opened for Kendrick, and then both of them released their magnum opuses before that, and it was kind of that energy of like everyone knew Currents was like amazing, like instant classic, and everyone knew To Pimp a Butterfly was an instant classic. So the Venn diagram of people at that concert was really cool, because the people
he had a year to live off the album. So
totally,
it was a lot of people's favorite albums.
Totally, it grew on everybody. And if you're a fan of both Kendrick and Tame Impala, it's just like a cool vibe, So you're probably
come.
like, yeah, you're probably a person that loves music, and you're gonna be really happy that you saw it. So yeah, we were super excited. We had great spot, and Tame Impala killed it. They played Currents, and they just played it like super accurately, just like the record. And then I just remember Kevin Parker saying like, "Are you guys ready for Kendrick?" And it just felt so surreal, like hearing Kevin Parker ask if we're ready for Kendrick, and then everybody's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Me too. Like, I'm so excited." And then I think he opened, and this is where memory, gets a little hazy for me, but I'm pretty sure he opened with For Free. He definitely played it.
Mm-hmm.
and full band. He has the full band with him, with probably a lot of the people that were on the album performing, and they just crush it. They're able to just play for free perfectly. All the horn parts, all the drummers just like crushing it. And yeah, I mean, I got to see like most of the songs, that were on To Pimp a Butterfly live, and it just sounded exactly like the record, and the energy was just great. It was magical. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great live performer. We've seen him several times now.
Yeah, he is. Actually, on his last tour, I really enjoyed his performance. It was a lot like a play. It had movements, it had like dancers, and he had like it was a very heavily themed performance, which was sick.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Kendrick, I'm sure you already know, but there's a Amazon Prime show. I think it's his Paris date, but of that Mr. Morale show that we went and saw, which is fucking great. That was a great time.
Yeah, and Baby Keem was really cool to see, especially like with Kendrick. Just the energy was at 100.
Yeah, that's cool that they're cousins.
Yeah, I know, it's so random, but also it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, to have that kind of inspiration, around and stuff. Because I think Baby Keem like produces a lot of his own beats and shit.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, which is dope.
Yeah, but any thoughts on T-Bap and Untitled Unmastered, or Kendrick Lamar in general? Because I don't know when the next one we'll cover anything else.
Yeah, he's just the best. I mean, he's the best. He's my favorite rapper. I think he's the best rapper ever. Honestly, he's the best rapper ever.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping that this post TDE career that he's gonna have now kind of brings him back to this kind of a sound. Because I don't know how much of like what was happening after was Top Dog Entertainment, and like far as making him release albums. He did Damn, which is like his pop opus, and then less than a year, I think the soundtrack for Black Panther. He did the Black Panther movie, came out, which is good. I bought that the day it came out. But it's a very big, large scale things, and even in that last statement, he referred to himself as an underground rapper who broke into the mainstream, or something like that. Like he's not supposed to be in the mainstream. Like he's forever in the underground. So I'm interested to see like what happens now. I'm hoping it's almost just like crazy, like Fly Low, like Death Grips-esque, like. But I think he's doing a movie with Trey Parker and Matt Stone too. So like I don't know what's on his mind.
That sounds fucking insane. But I will say this about Kendrick: whatever he decides to do, he deserves it. So, yeah. I know that whatever he does do, it's going to be because he wanted to do it, and that I massively respect. And I'm excited for what he puts out next. If it's a To Pimp a Butterfly Part 2, awesome. If it's something completely different, if he makes a fucking synthwave album, awesome. Like I don't know, who knows what it's gonna be.
It could
I'm
be
excited.
I mean, what he said about Mr. Morale, he had like gained a love for the piano, so he might just be like really learning to play the piano right now. Like he could do, like Andre 3000 like plays the flute,
yeah,
and stuff.
like
and
he
had that song with like right about he's just eccentric and stuff. But he had those couple of songs with James Blake, and those weren't bad at all. So I could see like Kendrick kind of applying I don't know if he would do just a piano album, but I could definitely see him craft. I mean, he has the rapping ability, so he could kind of start crafting songs like that now.
I could see that, which would be sick, like a more moody type of like thing where he's like playing piano and like rapping. I mean, that'd be dope. I don't know of anybody that's done that before, so that would be like something I would imagine him doing.
Yeah, it could be like a whole cool sound, like like Bob Dylan, but with all the context of being Kendrick Lamar and rap music, because it's not that far off.
Doing whatever he wants.
Ballad of a Thin Man, but like Kendrick rapping over that sort of a thing, like that'd be fucking cool. That'd be cool as fuck, actually.
Yeah, that would. He just makes a folk album.
Yeah. I mean, he sounds good over the warmer instruments. You could kind of hear what he does with jazz, and then think, okay, like apply that to folk instruments, piano, like piano ballad. Which, he does have that on Mr. Morale. What's that song on the second half?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about with the guitar riff. It's like an indie type of song almost.
It was like a piano. It almost reminded me of like something Radioheady.
Yeah, that song was cool.
Yeah, I liked it. Some people, that was the one that people didn't like, but I liked it a lot.
Me too.
All right.
Well,
so this has been a very long podcast, so.
It was, but it was good. All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I figured it'd be long. I'll stop it right now.